Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to show you how I made this pair of cards using our new and gorgeous transformation stamp set. Now this is one of the newest 6x6 sets that was released in our fall 2019 release, and it is just absolutely fabulous. So I'm going to start off by white heat embossing this beautiful butterfly image onto some watercolor paper. I'm using Canson XL 140-pound cold press paper, and then I just used some Brutus Monroe Alabaster white embossing powder. Once everything was embossed, I'm just going to spray my panel with some clean water, and then I'm just going to tap on some Prussian blue color burst onto my wet watercolor paper panel. Now I just lightly tap the bottle and you just have so much powder coming out, even with just these light taps. So you want to make sure that you don't tap too hard because a little bit goes a very long way. I sprayed some additional clean water onto the panel and then used the water brush to help move some of that pigment around. And I have some watercolor paint on my craft sheet, and I have this other white embossed panel, and I'm just going to kind of smush it into that watercolor paint because I don't want to really waste that, and I had this panel made already. And while both panels are still wet, I'm going to take some violet color burst and lightly tap on some powder onto both panels. And again, I'm just using very light taps, and you can see how much powder comes out with those very light taps. So after I've tapped some powder onto both panels, I'm going to spray down both panels again to activate the violet color burst. And then I use the paper towel to dab and move some of that pigment around. So I go back and forth between dabbing in certain places onto my panel, and I'm also cleaning off my craft sheet because I don't want that paint getting everywhere, including my hands. But once I'm satisfied with my panels, I'm just going to take my heat gun and dry the panels completely. And I found that my butterflies weren't really popping off the panel enough. So what do? I'm just going to add some peony color bursts to some of the florals to add a third color, because we just use that Prussian blue and the violet to mostly the background. But on this panel, I had a lot of white spaces on the butterfly and the floral portion, so I said, let's add some additional color here. Let's give it a third color to make this butterfly pop a little bit more. So I used the peony color burst on most of the floral portions on the right side. And then on the left side, I think I used Wisteria or Merlot. I can't remember which one I used, but both colors are really beautiful, kind of deep red tones, and either one will work. And this came out really lovely, and I'm very happy with the result. So I repeated the process with that second panel. The second panel didn't have as much white space in the butterfly areas, so I just added some of the peony color bursts to the florals and the wing portion, and I kind of just left it at that for now. Next, I took some indigo color bursts and I colored in the bodies of both butterflies just to give a little bit more contrast to the total image. And then I added a little bit of sap green color burst to some of the leaves, and this is going to add an additional color to my panel. It gives it a subtle color. You don't really notice it, but it is there, and it gives a really beautiful effect to the end result. Now I took a couple of word dies from our Love and Hugs word die set, and I put the Sending Hugs dies to the side as I trimmed my first butterfly panel to an A2 size panel, and then I realized I could have just taken the largest die from our Double Stitch Rectangles large die collection to cut this into an A2 panel, but I just thought of it after I trimmed it down. So now I'm just adding stitching to the edges of the panel, and I also die cut the Hugs word die right into the watercolor panel. And then for the Sending word die, I just cut that out of white cardstock, and I just used a needle to poke all of the individual letters out and the Sending die cut. Next, I had some of my DIY glitter cardstock around, and I just created this cardstock a while back using our Glossy Fine Gold adhesive paper that I just applied onto cardstock. So I just trimmed it out and I adhered it right behind that hugs negative space cutout. And you get this beautiful glittery effect. So I put the G back in, applied some glue in that centerpiece, applied that centerpiece, and then just peeled that G out. And I'm not going to use the positive die cuts. I can save that for another card because I just want that beautiful glossy gold glitter showing through. Next, I adhered the sending die cut right above the hug sentiment and trimmed off any excess pieces hanging off, and this card is now complete. Let's move on to the second one. I just die cut some additional word dies from the same Love and Hugs word die collection. So I cut out the hugs, kisses from white cardstock, and the ampersand was cut out of the same gold glitter DIY cardstock. I also white heat embossed the sending sentiment onto black cardstock, trimmed that out, and popped it right onto that second card base. And here are two cards done, same technique, different looks because we kind of applied the color burst paint in different ways, but you get really beautiful results for both techniques. And when you emboss it in white, the image just pops. So thank you so much for watching my video today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I update it weekly. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.